It's the last day of January and I'm going to be sharing my books that I read, all the books that I read, but I'm also going to be sharing the shows and movies that I watched, along with the Bible verses that I memorized. So just like a whole month wrap up of content consumption plus memorization, just because I think that's going to keep me consistent. My goal is to memorize a lot more Bible verses this year, so I really hope that putting them in this video will keep me accountable and keep me motivated to keep doing so. So we're going to start with the books that I read because this is a reading wrap up. So the first book that I read in January was A Dog's Purpose. I actually have the book right here. Bought it on Thrift Books. And it's by Bruce Cameron. Such a good book. It's just, if you love dogs, really recommend this one. It's very fast paced, but I would say it's literally only like about dogs and like people and like your relationship with dogs and people. And if you're not into dogs, I don't think you'll like it, but if you are, I would really recommend this one. They actually have like many of these dog books. I did find like just one was enough for me. Second book, I heard an audiobook, which was Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, and I really enjoyed this book because I am all about less screen time, less like consuming, whether that be like shopping or like content. I'm just all about that, and so I did find that I learned a few things, but it was on audiobook, and that's the bad thing about audiobooks is that you can't really, well, I guess you totally could like write notes while you're listening, but I use audiobooks as like background while I'm doing stuff. So I didn't write too many notes about like on it. It was refreshing to know that there are other people out there that just believe in like keeping your technology use like low. Third, don't know if this counts, but I did read the entire thing, and it's the Anne of Green Gables cookbook, and I actually made the pound cake for it twice, and it was very good. So I have never read the actual Anne of Green Gables, but it's totally on my TBR, so it's gonna be read this year. So next, I read 15 Minutes by Karen Kingsbury. So this was my first time with this author, and she's like a wide-known Christian fiction author, and I had never heard of her, but I gave her book a try. It was from the library, so I don't have it now, but it's pretty much about this Christian guy that he goes to. It's like a form of like those singing competition shows. His family's telling him like, don't go, like you're gonna be dragged into the world because of like fame and all of that, and he's like, no, like I'm gonna be fine. Like it was very predictable, and I knew what was gonna happen, sort of. Like there was some surprising parts, but it was just still so good and encouraging just to see the main character's journey from like desiring fame, getting it, realizing like this is not what I wanted, and then going back to God. And I just love stories like that. So next book I read was A Little Princess. I actually have a video coming up on the lessons that I learned from this book because it was just so good and beautiful. This is definitely my favorite book from January, and it's about a little rich girl. You would think she was like spoiled and grateful, but she's actually just really kind. But she goes through a trial, and you just see her mindset like change, and it's just like it has a lot of good life lessons in here, and I'm actually gonna make a whole video about that, so look forward for that. Yes, this is my favorite one that I read this month. And the last book that I read was Flipped, one by Wendelin Van Dranen. Yeah, I love the movie, so I had to read the book. This is definitely like a middle grade book. I mean, I finished it, but I did feel like I was a little too old for it, and I would totally recommend it, but I don't see myself like rereading it anytime soon. I would definitely like have my kids read this one day. Yeah, it is a little kiddish, but the movie is great. And I did have a lot of books that I did not finish, so I'm just gonna like place those here because yeah, I could have totally read more, but I was giving books like chances, and then I just wouldn't finish them. And I'm determined, like if I don't like a book, I'm not gonna read it, you know. If you give it a chance and it's like not good, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna let it go. So I did start many books and did not finish them. Moving on to the movies and TV shows that I watched in January. So I watched the movie Holes. I have that movie on DVD, and for Christmas I got a DVD player, which I'm so thankful for. And I watched the movie Holes. over the span of a few days, and it's so cool because I have the DVD, and so I'm able to see like special features and like interviews of the movie, and I really enjoyed that. And then I watched the movie after watching those, so you just like know the behind the scenes, so it just makes the movie cooler. I also watched Abbott Elementary. I started Abbott Elementary last year, like November, December. I didn't realize it until I was halfway through the second season that I was on the second season. So in January I went back and watched for the first time the first season, and then I finished the second season. If you don't know what Abbott Elementary is, it's pretty much The Office but like teacher style, which is like, I'm a teacher, so I just literally could relate so much, and it's so funny. I also watched The Middle. I got the 9 seasons of The Middle on DVD, and so I actually did not complete the first season, which I'm happy about because I'm trying not to like watch a lot of TV, you know. I watched most of the first season, and it's just nice because it's like one of my favorite shows ever. Like, it's nice to have it on in the background sometimes when like you're doing stuff, because I already know like the shows, most of them, because I've watched them so much. It's just like some of my favorite characters, so I like that show. I also watched the movie Flipped. So I watched the movie Flipped and then I read the book. And yeah, if you don't know what I feel like everybody knows what I'm talking about, but if you don't know what Flipped is, it's pretty much this girl, she's been obsessed with this boy since she was like really little, and he never liked her back, and he's actually like very shy. They flip, and then she doesn't like him anymore, and he likes her, and then blah blah blah, you get your happy ending, of course, at the end. So that's Flipped. And then I watched Blue Zones on Netflix. It's just about like centenarians and how they have blue zones, which is like where people live longer around the world, and kind of like what habits they have. And it was actually very interesting. I know some documentaries can just be like, ugh, you know, but that one, it was just very good, and I would really recommend it. I think it only has like 4 episodes, but they're like an hour each. And then the last thing I watched was Survivor, which I am not happy about. I mean, Survivor is very good. If you don't know what Survivor is, it's pretty much these people go out into the wilderness for like 39 days. I don't know if they shortened it, or I don't know if it's like 26 to 39 days. It's like different in each season, but it's pretty much like a social skills game, but you also have like physical challenges, and you have to like make alliances with people, and then at the end, the people that like you voted out decide whether or not you win like $1 million. It's a bingeable show. Like, you're not gonna watch one episode if you turn that show on. You are gonna stay up late like my family and I did, and you're gonna be tired at work the next day, and that's the only reason I'm not happy about watching it. But I think definitely if we learned how to like limit it to 1 to 2 episodes per night, it would be great. But yeah, we don't do that. So last thing I was gonna go over was Bible verses I memorized this month. My goal was to memorize 4, 1 for each week, and I did not meet that goal just because for the 3rd week of January I got very ambitious and I wanted to memorize 3 verses like as one little passage. I wanted to memorize it, but I didn't. So I only memorized 2 verses, but that's still something. So first one is Psalm 56:3. It says, "What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee." And then Romans 12:2. I'm so happy I finally memorized this one because I always had the first half of the verse memorized, but I never got to the second half, and I finally got it down. So I'm really happy about that. I'm like speaking faster than my brain could work. But okay, Romans 12:2. "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." Yay. Okay, so that was all the books I read, the movies and TV shows I watched, and the Bible verses I memorized for the month of January. And I really hope I can make these each month. And I hope you learned something new or laughed or smiled or something. And I hope you have a good day.